and sell real estate, which doesn't really make for either a financial hub or a diverse, broad economy that reflects what, in a geographical and population sense, is a pretty massive region. So we felt that no, the region can't justify more than one hub. The primary reason for this, and will be controversial here in two words, is Saudi Arabia. Because of Saudi Arabia's overriding political and economic influence in this region, it's very difficult to create diverse hubs beyond central control. The influence that Saudi Arabia has on the GCC, which is really the most formal type of integration we have here in the region, means that we can't have cross-border trade. Anyone who's tried to do trade or any business between Dubai or any part of the Gulf into Saudi Arabia knows how incredibly difficult it is. Anyone who's tried here to apply for a visa to even go to Saudi Arabia to do business knows how particularly difficult it is. So, perhaps we should try and make the integrated frameworks we have for regional economies work better before we start talking about creating hubs. Now, we can't do that while we have a situation in Saudi where for example, women can't drive cars, and you have particular barriers to political reform elsewhere in the region. One of the topics that seems to have come up across the board here is this issue about giving some form of citizenship, some sort of stakeholder pass to people who are vested here, people who are prepared to invest or buy property or invest their own time in building what we've had here in Dubai. Politically, for Saudi Arabia, that's unacceptable, and because it's unacceptable for Saudi Arabia, I think it's highly unlikely that anywhere else in the Gulf will be allowed to take such a radical step. So I know it's quite controversial, but I think that until we see tangible reform in Saudi Arabia, which is politically and economically the most influential country, both here in the region and in terms of the Middle East, outside. Saudi Arabia is a member of the G20, let's not forget, and for many intensive purposes, when US politicians, when European politicians think of the Gulf, they think of the people they meet from the Saudi delegation who goes to the G20, which of course is very different to what we have here in Dubai. I think an important barrier to creating more than one business hub here in the Gulf is also culture, in the sense of tribes, competing tribes and competing families and competing interests. And again, this comes back to a lack of integration. Is it really in Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait City's interest to allow further access to their markets, further access to their economies, to businesses that are based here in Dubai? You could argue that they would rather have the head offices of large investment banks, of oil companies or engineering companies based in their own countries, so that their employees buy property and invest and are active within the economy. So I think that, to come back to the original point, it's very difficult for us to see within the existing political structure here in the Gulf that you could have more than one financial or economic hub, until people understand that just replicating what we have here in Dubai isn't a solution. In actual fact, it creates a much bigger problem. And this is the danger that I think that we now face here in the UAE, in that so much of the development that's now happening in Abu Dhabi mirrors much of what we've seen here in Dubai that has been very successful over the last 10 to 15 years, such as Dubai Media City. You now have a media city in Abu Dhabi, such as the Dubai International Financial Centre. Abu Dhabi is now planning an international financial centre, such as Etihad Airways. Does the UAE, a country of this size, really justify two huge airlines that are going to be fighting for business in the next 10 years? So, the region is a diverse place, and each particular city in the region has its own market advantage, and it's what cities in the region can do to recognise that market advantage. In Doha, we were there 3 weeks ago for the forum that Gulf Intelligence organised there, and it's quite clear that in Doha, the large gas resources and energy story makes tapping into that as an energy centre for the region the logical solution. Likewise, here in Dubai has historically been a trading port for the rest of the region, an access point for international companies coming here, and perhaps its future is considering the tough economic climate at the moment is somewhere in its past. The solution going forward isn't building economies off a Lego table, as my son, when he gets a Lego box, he puts all the bricks in the same place, and it seems that the consultants who've come into a lot of the economies here in the region have just handed policymakers a Lego map and said, there you go, build your economy in the same model as the person next door. The key to everything in life, or at least I tell my wife, is to be different, which is why I think hopefully she married me. So anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I hope I haven't commented.